Welcome back, you guys. This is the Art School graduate. Today's guest is a footwear designer at Vans whose path started not in a typical design school, but in social work. During COVID, he picked up a pencil, drew a shoe, and never looked back. That specific moment led him through the Pensole Academy, a year-long apprenticeship with the VF Corporation, and now a full-time design role at one of the most iconic shoe brands in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Shawn Williams. Shawn, brother, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing amazing. I appreciate that fire intro.
You're welcome, man. But we were talking a little bit before. I had to give him his props, man, because I was like, wow, your story is just, it's inspiring. It is telling. It is showing the heart of who you are. And I just feel like this is a conversation we need to have and let people know that like, talented, gifted Black men are out here creating, man, culture, love, experiences for everybody, man. So
Yes.
I just felt like that was important and needed. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about the early stages of Shawn. So grew up in Richmond, Virginia, around basketball, graffiti, and being the kid everyone asks to draw things. How did you start to feel like, how did that start to feel like the gift was starting to point to you somewhere specific?
Yeah, I mean, growing up in Richmond, I played a lot of basketball, and I, like as you mentioned before, like when I was in a classroom, I was the kid that everybody wanted to pick to be their partner to draw contests, and people would get mad or like they have Shawn, of course they're gonna win. So I got a lot of that growing up in school. But yeah, I think it's really about I started drawing like buildings, then it went into shoes, and I just noticed this passion every time I drew. I just had this hunger to create and just draw anything I can get my hands on the back of a receipt paper, anything. And, once I started drawing, just the passion started to slowly like build up. And then next thing you know, you're drawing for the neighborhood, like people asking you for favors. Can you create like a pamphlet for this
Right.
organization? You're getting these all type of requests. So then right then and there, I knew we had something special on our hand. I knew that, I had a gift for sure.
Okay, so let's talk about how you put that gift on pause for a minute. And you spent years that many people may not know, first-time listeners being introduced to you. You may not know this, but he spent many years as a social worker. Like you were inspired by your aunt wanting to help and elevate your community. Touch on that for a bit. What caused that initial pull towards social work? If you can give her a little bit more of a deeper dive.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I entered my aunt had a learning disability, right? So just really growing up with her, watching the challenges, that she faced day in and day out, and just having a sense of empathy, right? And wanted to give her the world. Like this is at a young age, like literally
Yeah.
wanted to give her the world. And,
Yeah.
I've been through several journeys in my career. There's retail, everybody been through it. I worked at Pizza Hut, Walmart. I got into sales. And when I entered into sales, I think, I gravitated towards the people. I worked for a staffing agency called Aerotech, right? And I really gravitated towards the people that we necessarily couldn't help. So these are people that come into our office who didn't have a resume, who didn't know how to interview. I really gravitated towards them, right? Really taking the extra time after work to help them out. And that's kind of where the empathy thing comes into play. And, my coworkers around me, they noticed that. And then they also noticed I had a gift for drawing, right? And, they came to me to say, man, I'm not sure this is the fit for you, and yeah, you're really great with people. And that's when the social work aspect clicked into
Right.
play. And, they made a couple moves and yeah, they made a couple calls and they allowed me to kind of enter that social work space, right? I knew somebody at Aerotech that knew someone in the social work, he had a social work agency and they put me in touch and the rest is history. So, but I do want to, if I can make a distinction, I was actually an employment specialist in the social work field.
Got you.
So I don't have a degree in social work. I want to give my respect to the social workers out there because that's a grind, but
Yeah.
employment specialists, I'm not sure if you heard of it before, but they're basically helping individuals. It's also referred to as a job coach. So they help
Sure.
individuals with disabilities, individuals in poverty, individuals coming home from prison, refugees, they help them find employment. So a lot of it is going into community advocating, speaking to employers,
Got it.
even on the job with them, training, teaching them how to do the job. So there's
Wow.
definitely a lot involved.
Man, that takes heart, brother. That takes a lot of compassion to to sit with people who sometimes feel like they're on the outskirts of society and no one can see them or no one wants to help them. That's love right there, man. But
Sure.
I'm curious about this. At what point did you start to feel like design could, have the same, I mean, do the same work in a different way? Like, because I feel
Mhm.
like you're very intentional. It seems that
Mhm.
way. Like, nothing for you is just like, I'm going to randomly do this. Everything you do is very much like there's a thought, there's a process behind it. So, at what point did you start to feel like design could do the same work, but in a different way?
Yeah, this really goes back to, COVID, the COVID era, right? And this is kind of where I rediscovered my passion for drawing because previously I had took like a 10-year break. I didn't draw anything
Ooh,
for 10 years.
wow. Wow.
So, when we had the stay-at-home orders, I think this is true for a lot of people. I think they started to rediscover passion and people really started to reevaluate their lives. And, a lot of people started to figure out, man, I kind of want to do something else, right? And the first thing I drew during that period was a shoe. From 10 years, first thing I drew was a shoe.
Yeah.
So one shoe turns into two, two turns into four, and all of a sudden I have this collection of shoes I've drawn, right? Just because I've had this time to kind of reevaluate my life and figure out what's next. And I did a Google search. Now this is mind you, this is someone who has no concept of design at all. Like
Hmm.
I have no idea design exists.
Yeah.
I'm just drawing shoes.
Got you.
So I did a Google search and Pensole Design Academy came about. And Anna Smith, I'm always indebted to her for, responding to my email, right? And I told her my story and
Yeah.
she assigned me my mentor, Chris Dixon from North Carolina, my guy. He taught me the tools of the trade, taught me Illustrator for the first time. I had no idea Illustrator existed. I bought an iPad. I got an Apple Pencil. I started learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just took me under his wing. And Pencil, then this masterclass came about,
Hmm.
sponsored by Pencil and VF. And I think 300 people submitted applications. You had to do two
Yeah.
sketches and you had to do a 4 or 5 minute video describing your sketch.
Got you.
And they picked me out of 20, well, they picked 27. I was one of the 27.
Hmm.
And they took us through an 11-week design course. Throughout the design course, one thing I noticed that I showed up differently from everyone else.
Yeah.
What I kind of started to see like, oh yeah, I present a little differently. My
Hmm.
sketches are a little different. My mood boards are a little bit unorthodox,
Yeah.
right? And then that's when I started to figure out. Now I use the analogy all the time. You can elevate your community in a variety of ways. I chose to do
Yeah.
it through a number two pencil. That's when I
Nice.
started to really figure it out.
Wow. So, brother, why a shoe? Out of everything you could design, why did a shoe just call your name?
Playing basketball and I used to hoop and I used to like watch the OGs. Like this is back then, and they had the foam posits, you name
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
go from memory and draw what they had on the feet. So that's
Right.
really sparked the passion. I used to go
Got
home
it.
and draw the Jordan 12s. Like
Yeah.
that's where it started. And I think me and my boys growing up, we just had a love for the shoe culture. Lining up, going to the you had the new Jordan. So that
Yeah.
Monday came, you watching the high school
You
hallways.
talking about
Who
that
got
10
them
you talking
on?
about
Who got them?
yeah, you talking about that 10 p.m. sitting outside, cold, snow,
Yes,
rain, got a campfire, or
yes.
you just standing there standing around? Yeah,
Yeah,
waiting
calling the
on the
store, blowing the phone up.
right. I get
"What
it.
time
I
y'all
get
open?"
it. Right. I get it. So I'm curious now that you said, being in this space, being one of the 27 that got chosen, how did that make you feel? Did you feel, and this is something I think many people touch on, but some people don't or probably don't understand it. But did you ever have that imposter syndrome where it's like, damn, these people out here are like traditionally trained professionals coming to this trying to switch it up, and I'm just out here doing it for the love of the game. Did you ever have
Yes.
that feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say the first couple weeks in the pencil class was, whoa. It
Mm,
was like, wow. Like I've never been around design before. So you see the sketches, people putting together mood boards. They're talking about materialization, consumer profiles. All of this is new to me, mind you, right? And it was kind of one of those moments, but I knew I had something unique, right? And I
yeah,
think it was important that I hold that dear, right? And I think you can be inspired, but you still stay true to yourself,
right, right,
right?
right,
And
right.
I think because how it was just such an unorthodox way, like how I approached design. I knew I had a chance to challenge the space and push it.
So what was going through your head in those initial moments of applying, getting, and now you're in this space. What was going through your head? Was it, I can't fail? Was it, failure's not an option? Was it, I'm just going to have fun with this? What was that moment in your head when you were present with those feelings? What was that?
I always understood the bigger picture, always the bigger picture. So for me, it had to be the journey. Design is just a vehicle for me, right? I mean, ultimately, is to really elevate the next generation. Design is just a vehicle to do that. But it was always about the bigger picture. I think when I learned this, when I acquired this skill set,
Yeah.
when I build a community, how can I all
Yeah.
give it back?
Right.
Right. So this is
Right.
me. This is my mentality during the pencil class. I'm like, okay, I'm on this pathway to become a designer. When I get there, how can I all give this back?
Right.
Right. How can I push this beyond design? How can it go
Right.
further than that?
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that is a very clear thought line because sometimes it can be excitement, overwhelming, all that. But if you have that solid understanding of, okay, the bigger picture here is this is just a tool and I'm going to be the vessel to communicate whatever I need to communicate. That's, I think, it makes it become less of a tedious task and more of a like experience because you know what you're
Absolutely.
creating for a greater good.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm curious about this though. Let's talk about that relationship you built with, you mentioned Anna and then Charles
Mhm.
Dixon. Like, what did that teach you about what it means to be taken seriously in an industry that you were completely brand new to? Because they poured into you because they
Yeah.
obviously saw something. So
Yeah.
what did what did
It was just a beautiful thing. I think Chris and me and Chris are very similar in a lot of ways, right? We necessarily don't come from a traditional background from design. And Anna, and just to see someone at the level of Chris and someone at the level of Anna embrace me fully when they like, no, yeah, I don't have any type of background in design, right? But they just embrace me fully. And it just made me feel, it just gave me a sense of confidence. Like, oh
right.
man, these people, yo, they're elite at their craft and they embrace me and they see something special in me. So
Yeah.
the confidence, it just elevated me. It just really takes one person to believe in you.
That's the truth. That is 100% the truth, and I can
One
see you
person.
still reflect I can see in your eyes, brother, that it's you still reflect on that moment of them just, like, believing in you and accepting you and showing you, "Hey, you're worth it. You need to be here. You're valued here." That can mean a lot to people of color and people in these spaces, man. So, let me touch on this, though. The Diversity Design Apprenticeship,
Mhm.
that you did that. It took you to I'm talking about across the country, New Hampshire, California, Denver. You went to all these different places, and each brand is completely different. Like it's a different world for each brand. What did rotating through each brand teach you about how culture shapes a product? Because you're also bringing your own background into it, which is your unique storytelling. So, how did you manage that and incorporate?
Yeah, that apprenticeship, it was just an amazing experience. You know, Ultimately, that apprenticeship, it was five of us. So it was Ashley, Guggen, Gabo, and Jesus. And yeah, we were known as the Pencil Five. So we were just traveling the country. It was kind of like the episode of The Real World. Like we would
Oh,
stay in a
yeah.
house, one house.
And then you're moving
I
to
was
the
the
next
oldest,
one.
Gabo was the youngest.
Yeah.
So we just had a great variety. I didn't have a design background. A couple other people, they had design background. So it was a great time. And we got to experience Denver, Colorado. I'm not an outdoors person, but that's my first true exposure. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm hanging off the side of a mountain with a rope.
Questioning life decisions. Why am I here? What led me
Yo,
to
what am I
this?
doing? I'm on the side,
Right.
hanging off the side of a rock. I'm in New Hampshire. Like I mean, I grew up on Timberland, but this is New Hampshire. This is moose. This is
Yeah. Like they use it for active wear. We use it for fashion. It's two totally different conversations.
yes, a whole nother world. And then California's man. Like I never thought I'd be in California. I got to the West Coast during my time at Vans during the apprenticeship. My first time seeing palm trees, dolphins.
Wow.
It was just amazing, but it grew, and each brand had its vibe. Like Timberland, New Hampshire, you got to work on like some pro product, some workwear product. That was a different vibe. I mean, California is surf product, lifestyle product, right? It's beautiful. The sun is always out. You got Denver, Colorado. You got the North Face Ultra, a great running brand. So we just got a taste of a little bit of everything, but that's what made it such an amazing experience. And also we grew as people together because all we had was each other. It was just us five.
That's just that. So I'm talking about those little, like, that's what we spoke about before. It's just like I started this podcast because I didn't see anybody. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have anybody to talk to about this. And I get it. Trust me. I
Yeah.
totally get it. Now, let's talk about this decision you had to make. You said you gravitated towards Vans partly because of
Mhm.
the lack of diversity you saw.
Mhm.
Now, that is being bluntly as blunt, honest as possible, right? But
Yeah.
can you talk more about the decision for Vans versus any other? And what are you hoping to change while being in this space and in this room?
Yeah, I think my stop at Vans, and I feel like this is mostly true of corporate America in general, right? It's not really too many of us at all, right, in these spaces. I think for me, out of all the brands in the portfolio, Vans, the way, even like the way we construct our shoes, it's a simple construction. So it's a great foundation to learn, but also it's the West Coast. It's the furthest away I've ever been from home. So there's a growth aspect of it. There's a growth from a personal standpoint, and there's a growth from a design aspect of it. Right. And I feel like Vans gave me the most wiggle room because if you actually come to Vans, man, it's corporate, but it's a different type of corporate. So
Like
there's a little
dress
bit more
down?
wiggle room. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
well, you don't really see collar shirts.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, you'll see somebody, like, on a skateboard fly past you. So out of all the brands, it's probably the most wiggle room you really have to really kind of leave your mark, make your impact. And, I knew my purpose is to really challenge the space and kinda really open the door for the next generation, but I knew Vance would probably give me the best opportunity to, kinda open those doors.
Now, was this a conversation you shared with the Pensole 5 when you guys were coming to like the end of your apprenticeship? Were you guys kind of having these open heart to hearts? And how did
Yeah.
some of your counterparts take to that decision?
Yeah, I think it was no, I'm just going back reminiscing because that was some
Yeah.
nerve-wracking times. 'Cause we
Oh
all knew our
yeah.
lives are about to change forever.
Right.
Because some of us
I
are gonna
know
be in New
that.
Hampshire, some of us are gonna be in California, some of us might be in Denver, Colorado. It was amazing but nervous time. I think we talked about it. What we talked about how we felt about each brand. We talked about, a decision like that, you have to consider everything. Like what type of shoes you want to work on, what brand speaks to you the most, where do you want to live, what's going to challenge you the most, where can you make the most impact. So those some, some amazing conversations. I think what stage of life are you in? Right? For me, I wasn't married. I didn't have any kids. So if you're going to make a jump to the other side of the country, now may be the time to do it. You may never get that chance. Right. And
Yeah, yeah,
in order for me to grow,
100%.
I had to leave Virginia. That was something I had to be at. Once embarked on this journey, that was something I had to make peace with. There's a potential that I wouldn't come back to Virginia.
Now, how did that sit with you? Knowing that everything that developed you, created you was back at the home base. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, that was a tough one. I mean, that's all you know. Your family, your friends, your community, that supported you, taught you everything that you know. Yeah, that was a tough one. I think sometimes our dreams outgrow the place we call home,
Mm,
you know?
100%.
Absolutely. And I knew this mission, this journey I'm about to embark on, I had to transcend Virginia and I had to leave. Doesn't mean you're never going to come back, but in order for me to really, pursue this and
Yeah.
really become what I want to be, I had to leave. I had to leave home.
Now, how did your family come to acceptance with with that choice and that decision?
My mom was excited. She was hurt, but she was excited.
She's like, "I get to go to California to visit. Come on, yeah, go there."
I'm her baby boy, I've
Yeah.
been there all my life. My uncle was excited for me, my aunt, the rest of my family, and my grandma. Yeah, I think one of the things is, I got to spend some time before I left for Vans. And, I lost my grandmother, like, I think first couple weeks at Vans, but I got to see her before I left for California. And that's something that I'm always grateful for that I had that time before I left, you know. But my family, they were always excited. I think in some ways they were a bit shocked. They knew I had the talent, they knew I had a gift, but this design world, they had no clue.
The
Had
like
no clue this could
levels
be
it
a
could take you
career.
to. Yeah.
It's like, "You're doing what?" I
And
didn't
I
even know
don't
that was possible.
Right, and I'm thinking, I don't even know if Vans are popping on the East Coast like they are out here, so heavy.
Yeah, it's different. I didn't grow up wearing Vans, but you come out here, like, the mailman got them, the dog got them on. It's a man, our Vans has the most loyal consumer base, for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. So Sean, let's touch on something that's very close to you, designing with a purpose. You
Mhm.
describe your approach to design as storytelling, and you specifically talk about designing to spotlight underrepresented people. How do you actually bring that into a work that is very commercial? How do you do that?
That's a great question. So I'm on a lifestyle footwear design team, and so that means I'm responsible for 125th Harlem and Middle America, Arkansas. So I gotta know everybody. I'm designing for
Right.
everybody. So I can't just design what's cool for me and my crew. I gotta consider the entire country and the world sometimes. I think it's for me is how you present it, is how you package it, right? I think there's I've had some times in the past where, like when I present a shoe, I might pitch it with a HBCU theme, just to show it in a different light, in a different
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
the car shoe that just came out, I did a photo shoot in Richmond, Virginia for that, right? My
Damn, that's
homegirl,
dope.
yeah, we we set that up, you know, we had a kid model the shoe, but that's the one of the things I'm talking about. That's a full circle moment, right? It's important that everything in that photo shoot was Richmond. It was
Yeah.
rich, it's full circle, right? And that shoe is for the masses, but I wanted it to be about Richmond.
So when you're in this thought of designing and culture, how do you manage to not overdo it? Like how do
Mhm.
you manage not to beat it to death, but you still
Yeah.
want the shoe to be the spotlight, but at the same time you want that healthy balance of storytelling and uplifting of a shoe. How do you manage that tension?
Yeah, I think it's really having confidence and flushing out the design process. Like no skipping steps. Like literally going through the grind of it, right? And just telling that journey, like the ideation phase, like the crumpling up paper, like this ain't it. Like let's go, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
really people taking on that journey, right? And because the thing about design is you want to have great storytelling, but it's still a product. It has to perform as well, right? You need both
Yeah. Yep,
both
yep.
have to be top tier elite, right? But I think it's just really taking people through that design journey. They're seeing my process, how I ideate, some of the things I'm looking at, color materials. Yeah, I think it's everything given their equal balance.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious you said that because that was going to be my next question to you. Is like the process. How do you break it down? How do you get from idea to completion? Is it they come and present, hey, we're working
Mhm.
on this season, or is it more of,
Yeah.
hey, we're trying to try something new. What do you guys have? Like, what does that look like for you when they first send you a brief? What is it that you're breaking down first?
Yeah, the brief is kind of like it's something that the merchandising team they pitch, right? And you as a designer, it's up to you to really take that brief and interpret it in your own way, right? So sometimes the brief has guardrails, perimeters, sometimes it's blue sky, right? You're free to create, right? And really just really understanding that brief and really understanding, and this is kind of where the research, really tapping into the culture, like really being in the streets, really understanding what's trending, things of that nature, right? So you have the confidence. So when you back up, when you pitch something, you're able to back it up, right? And yeah, so with each brief is really taking that brief and just really interpreting it in your own way. I call it the sauce, right? I mean,
Yeah.
for the car shoe, for example, we need a novelty boys brief, right?
Right.
So for
That makes
me,
sense.
that can cover a lot of things. It could be an airplane, could be a wolf, right?
Right.
It could be a variety of things, right? But I wanted a car bed growing up. I begged my mom for a car bed,
So that
and that's where the
That kinda
inspiration
helped
came
with
from.
it. That's dope. I love
So
that you
that's what
pulled that
made
out, man. That's so
that's
cool.
my childhood experience, man. So that's a example of taking a brief and really filtering it in your own personal way.
So, something I'm curious about is your lens when you're designing too,
Mhm.
because you carry that social worker's lens, which is a very compassionate and having empathy. So, what does that actually look like in your personal practice?
Day to day. I'm all about community. Like that's probably my favorite word, community. But for me, I said this in the beginning. I have to have impact. I have to impact the people around me, right? I have to open doors. And for me, it doesn't really matter whether you're part of our amazing housekeeping team or you're the CEO. It doesn't matter. Right? Like respect equally. It doesn't matter. You acknowledge everybody. Everybody gets the same, yeah, the same amount of respect, the same love.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter, right? And I think when people see that, I think they're inspired by that, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not only empowering. It's like it's not any good if you're only empowering yourself. Like, what about the people around you?
Or the people
Like, what
coming
type of
behind
doors are
you.
you
Yeah,
opening?
yeah, 100%. So, with your optics of like coming in with compassion and empathy, what do you see that someone with a traditional design background may miss? Because for us designers, like I've been doing design since
Yeah,
junior college. So I've
yeah,
known just design. But now
yeah.
it's like if we were in the same space, what is that one thing some people sometimes forget, I would say? Because it's like being a designer, we know we are problem solvers. It's almost like
Mhm,
a math equation. We got this,
mhm,
we got to get here and it has to equal this final product. But
mhm.
sometimes we need someone to come in who's not familiar with it to be like, "Hey,
Yeah,
actually, let's slow down and let's look at this." So, what do you think that this is that most designers would usually miss?
I think the storytelling aspect for sure.
Yeah,
I think design, one of the things is I think, we kind of get into problem solving mode, right?
yeah,
And we hammer out the technical details, the materialization, and the ideation phase. But to me, the product it should make you feel something. It should impact you in some type of way, right? And that's just the foundation of storytelling. Like so, when even if I try to pinch something, I try to attach like a personal story to it,
yeah.
right? Because the shoe is it's the technical aspect of it. It has to perform. It has to hit the fundamentals of design, right? Or people
Hmm.
are not gonna buy it. It has to work,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
But to me, it's like when I want somebody to open that box and they look at the storytelling, I'm like, wow, wow, this inspires you. Like the person that made this came from here. Like, or this message on the back of the shoe. Oh man, that's a quote his mom used to say to him. Just little
Right.
things like that.
Right.
Like the number on the footbed. Oh, that's the area code where he grew up at. These subtle things.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's damn near perfect, bro. To have that kind of insight of putting that little, it's almost like your own little fingerprint on it, like your own
Yeah,
little fingerprint on it. But that fingerprint, it's not going to be the same, but it could tell the same story. Someone can see that, and be like, "Yep, I know that. I had that dreams of that. I had this. I thought of
yeah,
that. That's beautiful, man. Wow. Now
for
I
sure.
gotta incorporate that to my students. Like, hey, hold on, wait, before we jump off the ship, here we go. What are we going to leave behind that a person is going to remember forever when they get this? That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
So now this is something I was thinking about because
Mhm.
I have a ton of shoes and we can talk shoes later, but footwear is deeply personal. Even for
Yeah.
us in culture, we know it has to match, it has to look a certain way, it has to like some people have different styling with it. They sandwich it, meaning the shoes match the shirt or the hat. Some people do like the offset tones and different things like that. But for you, footwear is deeply personal, but also
Mhm.
mass produced. So, how do you
Mhm.
hold onto meaning in something that is commercially made? Like, how do you deal with that tension of, hey, this is about to be 8,000, pieces. How do you
Yeah.
still hold on to that knowing that someone from California may see it, Texas, Vietnam, China, South Africa, Egypt? Like, how do you manage that tension of keeping the meaning universal so everyone can feel accepted by it?
Yeah, I think it's really having a conscious of like every consumer, like really knowing the consumer, right? And even with collaborating with marketing and how the vision gets out, like really kind of pinpointing that. And the design process is, I go back to that example that I used with Harlem in Arkansas, right?
Yeah,
It's really having a full understanding of those consumer groups, right? There's sometimes I design shoes are specifically made for Kohl's or Famous Footwear. Like these are places that, our parents might shop, our grandparents might shop in,
got it.
right? But really
Yep,
taking the time to do my due diligence and really understanding who that consumer is. I think a lot of times what I see from, the next generation, they're trying to get into the game, like the youngsters, they're like, man, I want to jump to doing the cool stuff. Put me on the cool project. I want the collabs.
It's not that easy, chief. Trust me.
No, it's not. There's nothing wrong with a $1 million kid's banger.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with $1 million Cole's banger,
Right.
right? You have
Because
to
you
be
still
well versed in
produced it.
all of these worlds, right? You have to. That's something that I stress to in my mentorship. You have to be well versed. You can't be stuck in one world.
So this is one I hold dear to me because as a designer, I love this aspect of it. Is where do you pull your research from? Where are you pulling references from? Is it from Van's own personal collection and archive, or are you
Yeah,
actually getting from behind a computer, getting off your phone,
yeah,
getting off the electronics and physically going out and
yeah.
traveling and seeing and taking pictures or going to
Mhm.
museums? Like, what is that research, that first initial research step look like for you?
Yeah, it's really getting out there, like you said, going to the mall, people watching, going to different stores. Now I'm real big on social media, TikTok, following all the new accounts. So much great content on TikTok. Oh, even like going as far as, really looking at going into crates. Like I'm in the Vans office, I'm digging through the archives. We got
Right.
so much fly stuff in the archive. But really understanding the history of what we already did, right? And how could that potentially lay the foundation for something new? So it's a variety of mediums. My man Chris Dixon, he's inspired by bird watching. He gets his color palette from birds. That's a nature component. That I mean, it can really tap into anything, anywhere,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all
Wow.
types of expo.
Wow. So let's touch a little bit on your, community visibility and representation. That's seems like
Hmm.
that's a very big overarching theme within our conversation. And so you've spoken at James Madison University. You've inspired kids in Richmond to start drawing shoes. What does it mean to you that your visibility is already doing work for the next generation?
That means the world. It means the world. That's my sole purpose. I said it back in the beginning. These were thoughts entering my head during the pencil class before I even got to Vans. Like understanding the gravity of the moment, really understanding it, right? And Dr. Dwayne Edwards, because he had a vision and he challenged the space, he changed my life forever. And for me, to have someone really challenge the space and put everything on his back and to give you an opportunity,
Yeah.
yeah. How could I not give that to someone else? That's
Yeah.
not even like that's not negotiable.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, this is something I'm curious about. Where did this passion come from? Because you can feel it. You can see it on your
Mhm,
face when you speak about it. Where does
mhm.
this come from? Is this homegrown? Is this spiritually? Is this conversations you've had with others? Or is this just you being very much self aware of who you are, where you are, and the power this could hold for someone else?
It's the passion. It just man, just growing up in Richmond and seeing the talent and the creators that we have out there, and even my time in the social work field. Well, these are individuals that it's like the hardest of challenges, right? Well, you're blind, you're deaf, right? You go through some of these hardships, and just to have, just to really, just to work as best you can to, right, really give people the opportunity,
Yeah.
right, to show them the way,
Yeah.
to open the door,
Yeah.
like to lay that blueprint and that foundation. It's just something. It just pulls like a fire in me. It's like I gotta open the next door. I want to change someone's life.
Yeah,
For
man.
me, it has to be a product legacy and a people legacy. It has to be both. It has to
Now,
be both.
now I'm curious with you saying it has to be both. We both know the internal struggles we have with that because sometimes the financial doesn't take care of the bigger thought. So how do you manage that? How do you find that spot or how do you press down that part of ego and gut to be like, no, no, no. I don't care if I have to give this time. I don't care if I have to help with this supplies. I'm going to
Yeah.
do this because this is my purpose. How do you manage that tension?
Yeah. I mean, I go through it a lot.
Yeah.
Internal battle. Like, yo, are you
Yeah.
doing too much? Like, can you say no?
Right.
I think my time in social work is really giving you a unique perspective on people, right? And seeing people at their lowest, but building them up to be their best. It makes it hard for you to say no sometimes. And honestly, that's an internal ongoing battle, like I'm still struggling with right now, right? But it goes back to my introduction to the Pensole Design Academy, right? And Chris, my man Chris Dixon, he had a lot of mentors, like mentees. Like he had a full plate. He was like, I can't take anymore.
Yeah.
And then Anna hit him up and like, yeah, you want to take this one.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. That's
And
beautiful.
that one happened to be me. So, I think about that moment a lot when I'm feeling overwhelmed, right? Going back to what I said, it just takes one person.
To just
That's
make
the
that
thing that keeps me going.
shift, make that change for you. Yeah. Now, you said growing up in Richmond, you couldn't even fathom designing shoes as a career path because people like you just didn't see that as an option. Now, you've been in this position, you've been here for a minute. What needs to change so that a kid in Richmond or anywhere does not have to discover this by accident?
Yeah, I think you're really starting to see it now. I feel like designers now they're a bit more outspoken. They're willing to show their work more.
Yeah,
I think you see it
definitely.
a lot more on social media, and then the next generation is even going to be more empowered, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's really awareness. I think you look at the colleges, it's more, footwear design programs. Even with our HBCUs, having programs, go to the HBCUs, that's a big one. But I think it comes down to exposure, exposure at the college level, exposure on social media. Like people have to know, like they have to know this world exists.
Right. Most definitely. Man, because sometimes I think back to my own early design life and career. And sometimes I'm just like a lot of the things that are happening now. Like I've spoken with, I think you and him would get along very, very well. His name is Maurice. And he has something where he's working with inner city kids.
Mm.
Maurice Woods, he's working with them to help
Hmm.
them just get access to this stuff because a lot of them see it, they want to do it, but they don't even
Yeah,
have the tools. So I was just
yeah,
like, wow, what if the kid could get this 14? What are they
yeah,
going to be creating 20, 25, 30?
yes,
You know what I mean? So hearing you say that, it's just something like getting them open to it is going to be beautiful. And I totally think that that access is going to be key, extremely key. So, I mean,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Even
So,
elementary school, man. What
oh
if I do
yeah,
that? Like,
yeah. Right, just taking your early drawings and turning those into something. Like all those years of just sitting there drawing because you wanted to, not because you're in trouble. You could take that
yeah,
stuff and just lean into it. So yeah, I totally hear you, man. But now here's something that's super amazing. You're on the D&D Advisory Council, actively working to bring BIPOC designers into the industry. What does that work look like on the ground and why does it matter?
oh man, a big shout out to Andrea. She's been amazing. I think I joined them when I first initially got to Vans. I want to say my first couple months at Vans is going back, but it's really gave me a lot of opportunity to really get out there in the community. Like we're talking about high schools, just really being out there with the students,
Yeah.
students that have made like they don't have any idea that this world exists. I get to come in and show them my projects I'm working on. I get to bring them to the
Yeah.
Vans office, and their mind is blown when they see things that are not going to come out in 2 years.
Right. That's cool.
But yeah, just to see the questions, and they fly
Yeah.
and they have a million questions, and you can just see it. You
Yeah.
can see the spark and the amazement, and, that work is beautiful, and, I think it's, me being on the council has allowed me to kinda spread that to our community, to kinda bring Vans to those communities or bring those communities into Vans, right? Just to give people, just give the students that they something they never seen before.
Right.
It's been amazing.
Education is what we've spoke about a little bit before we started. And I think that's huge because it's like the reason I'm instructing and a professor is because it's just like no one looked like me. No one had the earrings, bald head, tattoos coming from the background I come from. And then having these students look at me and they're like, wait, you the teacher? You the professor? Like, okay, we can do this. So I know for those kids to literally walk in and see my man, wait, he got braids and tattoos? He can wear earrings to work, y'all. Y'all see this? Like, can you imagine what that feels like? I bet you
Yo, he's cool.
it blows their mind because it's like sometimes they're not seeing that. They're not hearing
Yeah,
that. You know what I mean? But they can
yeah.
see it and be like, So my outward appearance isn't going to
Yes,
be halt. People in this space are going to want to know genuinely, can you create? How do you create? They're
yes,
not looking at me as like, oh, well, they look like this or they talk like that. They're looking at them like, hey, this kid's just a good, dope designer. And I
yeah,
think that's going to bring them a lot more comfort where they don't have to feel that imposter syndrome. They don't have
for
to feel
sure.
that pain of like, I gotta switch it up. I gotta change. I
Yeah,
gotta cut my hair. I gotta look this way. And it's just like, no,
yeah,
we're accepting of everyone. Can you do the work? That's where we're at
yeah,
now. And I think that's
yep,
beautiful. I think that's
for
beautiful.
sure, for
So now
sure. Yeah.
here's my one section I throw in all the time. It's the rapid fire where it's just like I ask you a question, you give me the best answer possible. I've stumped 3 people. So I'm doing pretty good. I've stumped 3 people. So let's see how well
Do it.
you handle these. Here we go. First one off the bat. Let's see. Favorite shoe you've designed or been a part of?
Car shoe in stores now. That's an
Easy.
easy one.
Okay. Look, I thought you was gonna be like, hold on, let me go through it. I got some stuff that ain't came out yet. So hold on. Okay.
I do
Now
have
what
some stuff coming out that may become my favorite.
Okay. Now let's think about this one. Social work or design?
Design,
What
because yeah, go ahead.
I was no, that was gonna be my question. Why? I was gonna say, what about design has made you change it?
Because design, it's allowed me in a sense, like everything I learned and the person I became in my time in the social work field, I was able to implement it into design. So it's a perfect marriage. I didn't have to choose. I didn't have to choose to be, are you a designer or you're in social work? Like literally it's fused in my DNA. So design has given me this platform to be both in a sense, right?
Now, put you on the hot seat. Favorite shoe of all time. It doesn't have to be Vans, but favorite shoe of all time.
That's easy. The phone posit.
Dude, you like those heavy bricks? Those things are so heavy.
I loved it. I love the phone posit. I mean,
Okay,
you
let's break that down. Why the foam posits? To me, the things are like walking around with bricks on. Like you talked about Tim's, it's like you walking around with Tim's on every day. So explain to me
they were
why foam
heavy.
posits. Yes.
I think it's such a futuristic looking subversive shoe. You know, when it came out, there's nothing that looked like it on the shelf.
True.
So I remember seeing that shoe and I was just like, yo, what is that? I think I saw him on Mike Bibby's feet when he was in Arizona at the tournament. I think when you wore the Royal Blues and Penny,
Yeah.
of course. But you were just like, yo, what is that? Yo, how do they make that?
Right.
I mean, I just became fascinated with that shoe. It was the retail was crazy, so you couldn't get a pair, but
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this one. One thing about foot design that most people get.
that is truly a community to bring these shoes to life. Now, I think oftentimes people see the designer, and in essence, you become the face of the project, right? But I can't do this without marketing. I can't do this without our fit testing team. I cannot do this without our development team. I cannot do this without the merchandising team. I cannot do this without the other designers around me, mentors. Like everybody's pitching in to bring this to life, right? And it's truly a community to bring
Yeah.
these things to life. And yeah, I think that's something that I notice when I speak to the high schools, when I break down that process and how many people are involved, they're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah. I
But
believe
it
it.
takes a village.
Yeah. Okay. Just a couple more in this section.
Cool.
Something from Richmond that never leaves you.
The Southern hospitality.
Yep. Yep. Most definitely. And now this one. Which is harder, the career pivot or surviving the apprenticeship?
Career pivot.
I
I
can
didn't know
see
how it was
that.
gonna go.
So we just have a few more questions for you, man. But so you left a career built around helping people to enter one built around making things for people. But the way you talk about your work, it sounds like you've never actually left. What
Mm-mm.
have both paths taught you about what people really need?
Yeah. That's a good question. You almost stumped me. Man, like even like the concept of design, like it's so technical in nature. Like I think oftentimes you don't even think about it, how it can impact someone. You know, I think we look at these products that we wear every day, but the stories behind them, like who created them, the teams that created them, and the stories that they tell, and the feeling you get when you wear them. You know, I think it's just amazing. Comes from a product, right? That that's
Right.
on a shelf. It's not
Right.
supposed to mean all of that. It's a
Right. No.
shoe.
Right. 100%.
So when you're able to, yeah, going back to what I said, when you're able just to take it beyond the design, that's the thing for me.
So what does good design teach us about being human?
I think it's in essence you solving problems for your community, right? Right? You kind
100%.
of it could be someone you never met before, right? Me designing is I'm solving a problem for someone in like Atlanta or Chicago. I never even met them, but I'm designing a dope shoe that when they get it on their feet, when they wear it the first day of school, where they at the festival, they feel something when they put those shoes on, right? And we probably gonna never ever meet in life, right? But because of your division, and the team around you, you're able to provide that feeling. And to me, that's dope.
Now, this is something I feel a lot of people probably are in this space or have experienced it, but I'm curious to hear your take on this because many people feel in society now, they're pulled to choose one identity, one career, one path in life to get to wherever they want to go. But
Mhm.
your life is a literal blueprint of when something goes different, go for it. So, what advice would you give someone who feels basically pulled to one path that doesn't look like anything they've ever experienced before? What advice would you give them?
Embrace that challenge and embrace the responsibility of being the first.
Man,
One.
that carries a
And
lot of heavy weight though. That's heavy
it
for some
does.
people.
It does. And just to take on that responsibility and take on everything that comes with it, but to open that door, to be the first one to go through it and hold it open for the people coming behind you, it means the world, right? I describe it like you at a haunted house, man, the haunted maze. You get to the
Yeah.
entrance, the group is looking around like who's going
Yeah.
in first?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you always got that one person to volunteer, like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they like embrace the challenge of being that person, right? And the thing about it is everyone that comes after you, they're gonna improve. They're gonna watch your mistakes, the things you done or did wrong. They're gonna improve on that. And they become like a better version. They're gonna
Yeah.
build on what you already laid down. That's what it's all about. You'll be better than me. Be great.
Right, 100%. Now, what advice would you give the next generation for someone listening who does not have the traditional background like me or who's coming from a multidiscipline background like you, who maybe has a completely different career, but they feeling that like you said earlier, that urgent fire, that urgent pull towards something else? What would you actually tell them?
I think it's having the confidence, right? And taking the risk. And this is where your community comes into play, right? You have a strong community that will support you. But it's one of those things that just going for it, just truly going for it and being okay with the outcome, right? But at least you tried. At least you tried. And the thing about it is like when you take that final lap in life, like no regrets.
Right.
You did
100%.
everything, right? And it happens differently. Everybody's story is different, right? It's some people. It takes for some people they never find their purpose. Some people find their purpose on the kindergarten playground.
That's true.
It happens differently for everybody, man.
Right.
But when you find that purpose,
Yeah.
it's a wrap.
Yep. Yep. Now, Sean, my man, we've been rolling, but I want to touch a little bit on your legacy. When someone picks up something you've helped design, whether they know your name or not, what
Mhm.
do you ultimately hope people feel? What do you hope they carry with them after that experience?
Yeah, anything is possible. Anything is possible. That you can challenge the space. Like, you can stay true to yourself. Like who you are, you hold that dear, right? That means something, regardless. Everybody's different. There has to be space for all perspectives at the table. That's how culture moves forward. If you
Most
if you're not
definitely.
challenging it, we can't move forward.
Yep. 100%. Like our great hip hop philosopher J. Cole says, dream like you've never seen obstacles, man. Yes.
No ceiling.
Right. Exactly. Well, you guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. I have the talented, the compassionate, the thinker who's always putting the human being first before his design, the man who is sitting here with empathy in his heart and in his work, who's leaving these breadcrumbs for the community to come behind him, the talented, the innovator, the thought provoker, the great, the talented Shawn Williams. And my name is Justin Robinson, and this is the Art School Graduate Podcast. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Much love.